Torie, and this is a time now to get you all to come here. And if you're feeling blue about the climate crisis, you've called the right woman, or man, or they. So I'd like you to call 1-833-EMO, E-M-O, 4-ECO, 1-833-EMO, 4-ECO, EMO for ECO. Speak to us live on KCHUNG Radio or leave us a voice message, ranting, raving, whatever you'd like to do, venting or crying about the state of our environment, because we only have one Earth. And this project is an experiment in building language and validation about the stress and anxiety in any individual and yourself caused by climate despair and eco-anxiety. So all you eco-warriors, call in, let's talk. I am not authorized to give any advice whatsoever, but I can make it feel like I am. So again, call 1-833-EMO-4-ECO. And we're just having an event here. And any callers, call again, 1-833-EMO-4-ECO. You can really talk about anything. Let's start with the environment and just get into the nitty-gritty. And I'd like in a few words how you can describe your feelings towards the environment. Again, that number is 1-833-EMO-4-ECO. And really just like you to speak to us live on KCHUNG Radio. So you can leave us a voice message, ranting, venting, raving, crying, laughing even, about the state of our environment and the year 2020. So this project is, yes, an experiment in building language and validation about the stress and anxiety in individuals caused by climate despair and eco-anxiety. Who here has eco-anxiety? Well, I know I do. So all you long-time listeners, you can now today be a first-time caller. And the number is 1-833-EMO-4-ECO. And just speak to me live. We're going to be on KCHUNG Radio, the infamous KCHUNG Radio, and leave us a voice message, ranting, raving, venting, crying about our environment. And you get the lucky opportunity to speak with Torie of Transcending with Torie. I used to have a show on KCHUNG. Yes, that's right. But as life so happens, the show's not on anymore, and I think it's up to me to bring it back. So let's not talk about it, but we can talk about climate despair and eco-anxiety. And, so you know the number. Let's hear it. 1-833-EMO-4-ECO. So let's all be emo for eco. And, here we are, a little dead air. So I could tell you what I did today, but I won't, because we're here to talk about the climate. And do you have an electric car? I was thinking about getting one, but it only got 20 miles to the charge, and can't really go anywhere with that. And then you're stuck on the highway and you got to call for a little bit of service backup because your battery died. But anyway, 1-833-EMO-4-ECO. I'm getting a lot of calls. I don't know which one to take. So just to remind you that this conversation will be recorded and we're going to be adding it to the archive of collective voices. So let me know if you prefer that we delete the recording, save it, freeze it. We can also anonymize your voice by changing its pitch, lower or higher, by someone else reading the transcript. And it's not going to be me. So it's important to hear a clear yes or no from callers to remind them about this recording. And then after that, I'm going to say goodbye. And a little bit more about this project. I have my radio voice on. I don't know why, and I can't hear myself. But this project is a collaborative project organized by Space Saloon and Creative Migration, hosted by the ICA LA. We'd like to thank them. Thank you, ICA LA. Also in collaboration with KCHUNG Radio. And this is a performative, collaborative experiment in collective expression. So why are we doing this project? Well, we really feel that the first step to confronting our feelings towards the climate crisis is really through speaking about it. Because if you think about it, words are very powerful tools. So today we're building this vocabulary of tools and our alphabet. So when it is time for a solution, it has started here. So today is really the genesis of reversing our emo for eco feelings. And is this about activism? And how will this project bring about change? Well, I'd like to answer that question I just asked. So, these conversations are about making a safe space for callers, not only to share their feelings, but to have an outlet to express. My elbow just hit the arrow, so I lost my spot. But, yeah, so what are we going to be doing with this recording, you may ask? And they're just going to be archived and frozen for future public installation, and really your voice will live on in eternity, as the world may burn or not. We might even freeze, so, I'd really take it to heart, these hot days we're having, and really enjoy it, because I feel next year it's going to be a blizzard. So, yeah, we can also delete the recording if you wish. So I don't have much more to say. I don't even know if this mic is working, but this is my radio voice, and I might go back to my normal voice, which is going to be this. So again, what is this project? It's a performative experiment in collective expression, and we're really seeing a lot of that today, collective expression, and hopefully that can bring about the change needed. And how were we living before with just the environment of just letting things be as status quo, when really there is a dramatic need for change, people? It is just an interesting time to be living in. Exciting, and we have to be adaptable, but also what can we do as an individual within this collective? So I'm going to say goodbye, but I'll just keep talking. So again, recognize your feelings and have them show that you care deeply about this. So the way to correct the climate crisis is to, one, identify your feelings, and then call us. Are we done? Oh, I'm getting a call. Okay. Hi, I'm Torie, and how are you feeling today?
Hi, Torie. I'm okay.
How can I help you, and what is your concern with the environment?
Well, I feel like my big concern is that with all of the things that are happening in our world right now, we're focused on so many different things, and we've kind of let go of a lot of the progress that we were making towards, slowing down climate change and, taking care of the environment. And I don't know how to get people to refocus on that, because I think that it's really the core issue that, like, so many things are stemming from. So much of our equity issue has to do with our landscape and our ability to live in the places where we choose to live, and how the climate is changing around us. And I think that people aren't seeing that part of the big picture right now, and I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I'm sorry that you have to deal with that. It could be quite exhausting and scary, I can imagine, and it does sound like you have a lot on your plate.
Well, I think we all have a lot on our plate right now. We're trying to reconcile, at least here in America, an administration that seems to want to ignore all of the issues that its population is dealing with. And then beyond that, we're dealing with the consequences of, capitalism and, industrial, the industrial world, without, anybody really in a position of power trying to make that a situation that is, going to be good for us for the future.
Yeah, I'd like to rewind. When did you begin to feel this way?
Well, I think I first started paying attention to it in the last, 10 or 15 years, right? Like, I think I'm 40 now, so, when I was 20, I think I wasn't as aware. And I think that, we were aware of the changes and things that were happening to the world, but we weren't really aware of how quickly they were happening. Or at least, us as individuals. I'm sure the scientists and people like that were aware.
Yeah, many callers have expressed similar feelings, and you're not alone on any of your opinions you have here today. And are there other emotions that may be arising that are stemming from the situation?
Well, there's a lot of emotions. The question is, I think this is the big binary, right? Is it Is it important to focus on our emotions and how we feel about all this situation, or is it important to focus on something practical that's going to affect the change that might, have an indirect action on our emotions, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's nice to talk about it. It's nice to feel heard about this stuff and to be able to discuss the issue. But the bigger question is, I think, what can we do? And I feel still very disenfranchised about all that.
Yeah, that makes sense, but I feel that we have to really address the emotions first, and you're one of many today that are going to bring about that change. So, without even knowing it, just addressing your emotions is actually doing something about the climate crisis.
I think that too.
So, I'd like to give you a little more credit than you're giving yourself today.
Well, thanks.
But is there anything else that you want to express?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if there's more that there is to sort of say about it. I don't know. I think that that's a larger conversation about, my own personal relationship with expressing emotions versus trying to tackle problems than it is something that's directly tied to the climate crisis.
Yeah, and if you'd like to make history today by being one of the first to record your emotions, can I get a clear yes or no if you would like to have this part of the archive?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay, so we have a yes.
Yes.
And again, this is a performative experiment and collective expression, so hopefully it repaired some of your emotions that are bothering you today and just getting on the right footing towards expressing them with your peers and, really forming a community is what our goal and aim is here.
Well, I love that goal and aim, and I think that, mutual aid and fixing things on the community level is going to be our best strategy, because fixing it from the top down doesn't seem to be having any effect.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of courage to make this call that you did today, so I'm just going to give you an air hug and let you know you can call in any time, and hopefully this time next year we'll see a lot of progress with our environment and just the way people view climate crisis.
Well, I think that's a really positive outlook. I appreciate that optimism. I hope that one day that I can share it.
Yeah, so
thank you for your time and for listening.
Oh, anytime. All right, talk to you soon. Thank you.
Okay, take care.
You too. Okay, that's good. This is so fun. Okay, what's the signal? It'll be like a...
I don't know, Miles. What's the signal? When she's done,
a point.
she's going to give you a signal.
It's going to be good. When it comes to... Okay, this is really cool. Okay, I'm ready. Okay. For the other one, I forgot to get a yes or no. So yes or no when you're calling in. I want to get a yes so we can use this. We're on the air, and when you call in, I'd like to hear a clear yes and or no if you'd like this to be recorded for the archives.
Oh my God, look at this guy. Oh, that's...
Eco-anxiety. Solastalgia. Ecophobia. Climate trauma. Eco-guilt. Eco-shame. Narrative dissonance. Environmental avoidance. Climate denial. Eco-psychology, eco-anxiety, eco-fear, eco-trauma, environmental justice, climate trauma. Eco-psychology, ecotherapy, and eco-anxiety, eco-fear, eco-grief, eco-trauma, climate trauma, environmental justice, racism, cultural appropriation, deep adaptation, environmental melancholia, eco-resilience, enhance activism. Well, the word looks like enhance activism. Enchantivism. Pardon me and my ignorance. Enchantivism. Terrapsychology. And let's just say that again. Enchantivism. That's a new word for me. And can we not forget the waking up syndrome, where people cycle and wake up. And more words. Shocked, reimagined, disappointed, amazed, lost, overwhelmed, powerless. Healing gratitude and a narrative dissonance. Are you overwhelmed, worried, in gratitude with a sense of urgency, again overwhelmed and anxious, yet hopeful, yet again overwhelmed, curious, childish, yet overwhelmed, frustrated, anxious, fascinated, reciprocity, enchantivism, shocked, reimagined, disappointed, amazed, lost, enchantivism, powerless, eco-anxiety, several random welcoming messages of enchantivism, eco-anxiety, lost, disappointed, amazed, powerless, healing and gratitude, eco-anxiety, solastalgia, ecophobia, climate trauma, a little bit of eco-guilt or eco-shame. Let's hear what you would add, edit, remove. Why? No. Ecophobia, solastalgia, eco-anxiety, climate trauma, missing how words define, ecophobia. How about solastophobia? How about eco-anxiety phobia? Okay, let's tone it down. My producer's saying, okay, eco-trauma, solastalgia. I forgot the word I already forgot, so let's go back to ecophobia. Eco-anxiety. Let's just get talking about global warming, global cooling, climate trauma. How do you feel? What are you going to do about it? Electric car? Solar panels? Eco-anxiety, solastalgia. Less plastic? Support local shops, maybe? Eco-anxiety. Let's see, ecotherapy. I like that one. Ecotherapy. Eco-anxiety, eco-fear, eco-grief, eco-trauma, climate trauma. Now let's mix some words. Justice, anxiety, fear, eco, grief, trauma, climate grief, deep climate grief, waking up syndrome. Thank you to Edwards and Buzzell in Ecotherapy, their book on healing with nature in mind, where people can cycle between denial, anger, despair, action, hope, etc. in ongoing ways. Waking up syndrome, resilience, our new favorite, enchantivism, let's go to the next one, terrapsychology, environmental melancholia. Thank you, Renee Lertzman. And can't forget about Woodbury's work with climate trauma. Thank you, Zoea. I'm probably saying all that wrong. Let's do again our spoken word of eco-anxiety, eco-fear, eco-grief, eco-trauma, climate trauma, backwards, trauma, climate, trauma, eco-grief, eco-fear, eco-anxiety, eco. What's your eco? I'm emo for eco. Call in the hotline, you can talk about it. You know the number. Oh, here we go again. All right, our mixed bag. Childish, overwhelmed, frustrated, anxious, fascinated, reciprocity, interested and concerned, scared, shocked, reimagined, again disappointed. Lots of disappointment here. Gratitude and healing, powerlessness, lost, amazed, disappointed, reimagined, shocked. Who, me? No. Scared, concerned, interested, reciprocity. Are you fascinated? I'm not. Anxious, frustrated, overwhelmed in a childish way. Curious, side effects may include overwhelmed, worried, gratitude, urgency, overwhelmed again. Anxious, hopeful, overwhelmed, curious, childlike, overwhelmed, frustrated, anxious, and let's tone it down to amazed, lost, powerless. Healing and gratitude, narrative dissonance. Can I hear a little bit of narrative dissonance? A little shout out to that. We're going to go backwards now. Dissonance narrative. Gratitude, healing in being powerless and lost. Welcome to 2020. Frustrated, anxious, fascinated. Can I get a shout out for eco-anxiety? Let's talk about it. Steps 1, let's talk. Anxious, hopeful, overwhelmed, curious. Are we getting a call? I think my computer went down. No callers. Okay, you're just making history here as a performance piece with the ICLA, KCHUNG, and I'm forgetting names, but we have everybody here involved. Let me see. The Space Saloon. Can we get a shout out to them? Thank you. All right, again, are you hopeful, overwhelmed, curious, with a childish overwhelmed? Like we're going to Disneyland, but we're not because it might be closed now. So are you being frustrated? Are you anxious, fascinated? Is there a sense of Sorry, can't say that again. This mask is in the way of my speech impediment with a bit of dyslexia, so pardon me, but thanks for listening. All right, my producer wants me to stick to script. Are you scared, shocked, reimagined, disappointed, amazed, lost, healing and gratitude, overwhelmed, disappointment times 3? I think we're getting a caller, so you're not going to have to hear this anymore. Are you overwhelmed, worried, and gratitude? Oh, back again. Let's see. Eco-anxiety, eco-phobia, climate trauma, eco-guilt. Do you have a little eco-shame? I know I do. I had a plastic bag the other day when my Postmates came. I forgot to say that I didn't want plastic bags. What do you do with a plastic bag? You reuse it with the trash, and then you throw it out. You're still wasting, right? So I had a little bit of eco-guilt and eco-shame. So what words are missing, and how would you define words? What would you add, edit, remove, why? Well, what one word might be? Climate trauma. And that's what we're here today to talk about, is climate trauma, because I have eco-guilt, I have eco-shame, and I have eco-phobia, and that's basically very difficult to get everybody to talk and take action about our eco-phobia. We can't just pretend like we're going to be here for another 30 years, you know? All we have is today. So I'd like to go back to my mixed bag of words, and I can just play around with those and start the conversation. Eco-anxiety, solastalgia, ecophobia, climate trauma. Take a moment to breathe here. I'm really feeling it. These words have a vibration. And what an exciting time to be on Earth, you know, during its decline, which really can be its rise, because it's the first time that humanity can be used as the instrument of change. So let's go back to ecophobia, solastalgia, eco-anxiety. Do you have a little eco-anxiety? There are a lot of things we can do about it. You know, reducing your carbon footprint, not using plastic bottles, but I'm not allowed to give advice, so I'm just suggesting. You could get an electric car. I tried the other day, it only goes 20 miles per charge. So basically have no life, don't go anywhere, but you have that electric car and you can smile. So climate trauma and ecophobia. Can we talk about the duality of love and homesickness really resonates because anxiety and motivation are felt together? That word, I'm going to pronounce it wrong again. Solastalgia. Sounds Italian. Do you have eco-anxiety? Because I noticed that my sister experienced that around germs and COVID-19 in relation to our parents' safety. I'm going to visit my bubby tomorrow at her rest home, and I have eco-anxiety. Really, I have eco-guilt and shame, but more so a germophobia is arising. Because what if Bubby gets, you know, this COVID germ in her facility, just wipe out the whole rest home? So that's not going to happen tomorrow because I will wear my mask. But not talking about germ anxiety, it's more about the climate. So let's look at the larger picture of what's happening here. I really feel that COVID-19 has brought up about the whole topic of the environment. And we're seeing here with the California wildfires, there's 30, and I don't think any of them are really contained. Sea levels rising, let's go back to our prime example of, in Venice, Italy, the canals rising and St. Marco's Square being just flooded time and time again. But somehow that city just is so resilient. So we have to really use that as a metaphor to become this resilient yet adaptable, eco-fearless community, and to get rid of this eco-anxiety and eco-phobia, because yes, one person alone can make small changes, but together we can really open up the conversation to begin to create a movement here. So the number is 1-833-366-4326. And you can call in and talk to this voice or another voice or my normal voice, which is this. So 1-833-366-4326. And just come check it out. Be part of the conversation. And I don't care if there's dead air. I'll make it alive. And we can just have fun. And maybe a little breathing exercise we can do today. So I call this the box breath. And you just breathe in. All right, so just hold your breath, because I got a call coming in. Just keep holding it, and you might turn blue. Hi, I'm Torie. How are you feeling today?
Hi. I'm feeling a bit concerned about these masks that I'm wearing these days.
Can you elaborate on that? And is it a literal mask, a figurative mask?
Well, it's more the disposable masks and the fact that I'm not quite sure what the future will hold with the amount that I am kind of forced to throw away after using them, because they tend to be the ones that are, from what I understand, better when out and about around other people, rather than wearing just the cloth ones, of course, and having to rewash them. But then I try to make sure that I'm balancing out what I'm using. And then when you go outside and you're wearing your cloth mask, you just see a bunch of these disposable ones laying around now. So I'm not quite sure how we're going to circumnavigate this mask situation.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to give unauthorized advice, but I can share what I've been doing is that I wear my cloth mask over the N95 or the hospital disposable to give it a longer shelf life. So that's been really working. And then every night I wash my cloth masks and I'm able to reuse the disposable because it hasn't been exposed to, germs on the outside world.
Right. That's a very good point. I'm just concerned about other people who might not have this opportunity to understand better what they can do, because I'm just thinking about those who tend to leave their masks on the ground or just in the trash. And I think it's the visual of seeing these things more frequently in the streets. It's akin to seeing just trash everywhere. So with the window of where we're going, if there's going to be a next spike or not, I guess, this helps to calm me down anyway, and knowing what I can do. But I'm just worried about the population.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, definitely. I think the first thing to do is what you're doing today, is acknowledging it. And the second thing to do is, really use your community you have around you to bring awareness to the disposable masks and how to extend the shelf life of those by putting cloth masks over them, or reworking the narrative of the mask on the street into some sort of project where people are able to, in a germ-free way, collect them and create some kind of dialogue around it, and just pile them up and just be amazed of how much waste is in the city right now.
It's insane. Yeah, no, that's why I needed to call in and address this. And I think that now I have a better sense of direction and purpose to tackle this current anxiety that I have.
Well, yeah, I'm happy to
So
help.
thank you very much.
And would you like this to be a recorded call so we can use it for our later archives when we have made history in changing the climate crisis?
As you like. I'm okay with that.
Okay, so
Sure.
we have a yes. But
We have a yes, yeah.
Thank you for calling in today. And yeah, again, the first step towards making real change about, your concern for the newfound pollution here on the ground is to talk about it and take small steps personally and then invite your community members to do the same.
I will start doing that more responsibly. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're most welcome. Have a great day.
You too.
Good evening. You are on the Climate Crisis Hotline. We're here to listen to your thoughts about climate, eco-collapse, or any of the resultant emotions that go along with that. My name's Emerson, and I'm here to listen. Thanks for calling us today.
You're welcome.
So, in a few words, how would you describe your feelings about the environment?
My feelings are mostly feelings of terror and hopelessness at the moment.
And when did you begin to feel that kind of sense of terror and hopelessness about the environment?
Probably, I don't know, I think it's been an evolution over the past decade, but really the past 5 years in particular, mainly as the weather conditions have become so much more noticeably fucked up. And I grew up in Northern California in San Francisco, and also grew up spending time in the Napa Valley and that entire state, and particularly have been hit in a way that they never had been in the past. At least not in a way that significantly affected the lives of people visiting or living there. And so since that has been ended up with just increasing, craziness over the past really 3 to 5 years in particular, I've just felt just totally freaked out and desolate about what the future holds for that ecosystem. And I'm trying to be hopeful for the next generation and the kids and the Gen Z and all that shit, that they can kind of turn it around. But at this particular moment, it's, I feel like Trump has a very good chance of getting into office again, sadly. And I think that if that happens, we are going to be looking at an even greater decline in a quicker period of time. And so that's why I just feel this kind of sense of hopelessness.
Yeah, the fire season used to be just a certain part of the year, and now it feels like it never stops.
Yeah, and it also used to be something that you heard about a little bit in the news, but it rarely impacted anyone's life beyond the lives of fire, firemen, professional fire people. So you didn't really hear about it, like, kind of impacting, people. In this case, it's impacting my own parents.
Right.
So I think that, and then I live primarily in New York, and even the rains and the, just the kind of crazy shift in what had been a pretty constant and temperate, you knew that there was going to be snow during the winter and all this kind of stuff. There was barely any snow, yet there are these crazy rains during the summer with these sort of moments of torrential downpour and all this kind of stuff. And, I think that I was there through Sandy, and I think seeing Sandy, I sort of started to feel like, okay, this is not right, but maybe it's this freak, incident with Sandy, and it just feels like, now we have either a Sandy type thing or something that could be that every couple months in different parts of the country, and it's just unavoidable. I don't know anyone who doesn't feel terrified.
Yeah, it feels like it's not just going to get better.
Yeah, I mean, even if we start to do the things, which, I guess even during the whole past 6 months of quarantine, things have actually gotten better as far as carbon footprints, but it still feels like it's unclear how the kind of dramatic weather conditions and all that are going to subside in as quick a period of time as they become bad. Like they become really bad. I'd say the past decade has been like the kind of paradigmatic shift in that sort of visible worsening. Like I think about the next 10 years, and it's impossible for me to see things all of a sudden getting better. Never say never, but it's very hard for me to see that based on the way things have been.
Yeah, people will need to come together in kind of an unprecedented way. So that's terror and overwhelm and being scared are valid reactions to what's going on with the climate. You are allowed to feel that way.
Yeah. So that's pretty much how I feel.
How does that feel like physically? Like, do you find it's tiring? Does it affect your sleep or your appetite?
Not really. I mean, maybe a little bit in sort of insidious ways. Like, I definitely think I've had more screwy sleep, just because, everyone feels more collectively anxious, and I already struggle with anxiety. Like most creative city-dwelling people, I already have issues with anxiety, even when it's not a global pandemic and whatever. But I think that, the weird thing is that the way that it sort of manifests in my day-to-day is that I actually I feel like I'm more anxious to be outside. When I am around beauty, I'm more anxious to take it in. Like, I've never been like, like it almost makes me have like the emotion and the action are almost kind of different. Like the emotion is very dire, and but the action, I tend to really kind of like rejoice every time I get to see a beautiful sunset or anything that feels like something that could go away.
Yeah, I guess the one upside of existential terror is it does everything feels so vivid and raw. And like you really appreciate the impermanence of it.
It's completely, yeah, for sure. Especially right now because so many people have been leaving cities, and so things are kind of quieter in this way.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for taking the time to call us. I think you probably already know this, but this is a project of ICA LA and Space Saloon, Creative Migration, and KCHUNG, and we are recording these conversations. They're going to be added to an archive of collective voices. So if you could, just let me know if you prefer that we delete this, or if you'd like to anonymize it, we can change the pitch.
Oh, no, not at all. I'm a longtime friend of Susannah from Creative Migration and the ICA. I know Jamila and Samuel and a lot of people who've been involved in it, and I support. I want my words, and I want my name and anything I say to be used in any way that can help or get the word out to anyone.
You have a very intricate take on things, so that's really good to hear.
Cool. I actually feel like I'm kind of have a sort of dum-dum take on it.
I think that's also a common feeling that most people have.
Yeah. Cool. Well, no, I really appreciate you, and you're taking the time to really get a little bit more out of me, because I feel like sometimes I just feel sort of depressed and shitty, and it's nice to have someone kind of get in there.
Yeah, I think just rapping about it accomplishes something. I mean, it's so important to stay connected right now and to cathart and get things out. So you've done a heroic thing by doing this.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Okay, take care.
You too. You're listening to the Climate Crisis Hotline. It's a collaboration between ICALA, Creative Migration, Space Saloon, and KCHUNG, KCHUNGradio.org, 16:30 a.m. in Chinatown in Los Angeles. My name's Emerson Dameron. I'm here to listen. And I know you have thoughts on the climate crisis. It's sort of been knocked down the list of what people list as their biggest political priorities, thanks mostly to COVID-19. But really, this situation now is just a preview of some of the weirdness that is in store as we start to reckon with climate change. So I know you want to talk about that. This is the Climate Crisis Hotline. I'm Emerson. I'm here to listen.
Hi, Emerson.
Hey there.
Hey. Well, this is a nice opportunity to just express the concerns with the climate crisis, environmental crisis. I guess one of the things that I am most frustrated with is that we understand that the planet is in jeopardy and we're opting for more convenience than conscientiousness.
What makes you feel that way?
Well, plastic bottles, plastic wear in general, laziness. I'll even say that it takes a lot of effort to reverse what we've caused, and there isn't a huge concerted effort. So when you are someone who tries to make the effort, it's a real emotional and psychological process to not be discouraged by the negligence that is all around you. You know, you witness, especially in this country, sort of laziness with regard to what's needed to fix the situation. And what was incredible was that it took a pandemic to sort of lock us up and have us not destroy the planet as we usually do without thinking, with driving and industrialization and everything. So that was what was incredible, was that when we had to stop, the planet started to heal itself. And so you had an example of hope. But what I'm afraid of is that once we come out of this pandemic, things will return with a vengeance to that kind of drive to, I don't know, it's a capitalist model, not
bigger, better, cheaper, more.
Yeah. I mean, to make up for maybe some economic loss that happened during the pandemic.
Right.
Because the world is run by economic interests. So, unfortunately, people can't just continue to take note of the fact that we gained, perhaps, in this weird time of pandemic lockdown, to find new values in things. So that's a fear. And then, of course, when you keep seeing, it's interesting because we have the pandemic and we have the need to protect ourselves, and that we have now a new production of non-recyclable items like the disposable masks and gloves and things like that are happening. It really is ironic, right? So we have something that saves our lives, like a mask, and when I see one that's just discarded on the ground, I get bummed.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always feel like littering is just like the sign of a complete inability to look even 5 minutes into the future at a possible scenario of you walking past a trash can Like you just cannot. You're fully in the present moment, which is enviable in a way, but yeah, it's kind of blows my mind.
Right. Well, I mean, what's discouraging is the collective care that's not as much as I would like to see. You know, I think a lot of us would like to see a collective sense of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that we're trying to not be so, like you say, like, you know, oh, this is my life, I'm going to live it up as best as I can possibly can, you know, and but what comes with that kind of unbridled joy or whatever it could be comes with some waste and excess, and you know, these things happen, right? And what we have to realize is that there needs to be more responsibility and even sometimes restraint, which is painful for Americans.
It can be, yeah.
Because it's a freedom that you want to exercise to be able to do whatever you want to do, right? But it comes at a cost.
I think it seemed like in the early days of COVID, I live in Los Angeles, and I was really impressed with how much people came together and followed the lockdown orders and masked up, and it seemed like people were looking after each other and being part of a larger collective in a way that I had not necessarily assumed that people were capable of. And, you know, suddenly the air was cleaner, and we got to look at what it's like when people just restrain themselves and get, you know, minimize everything and work together for a bigger cause. And obviously that's been complicated since then.
Well, because we're breaking our sort of resolve to keep this going, because it's becoming difficult, of course, for many people who can't stop, you know, who can't get by with unemployment or not even eligible for unemployment. So there's like things that are pressures that you're between making these awful decisions, between neglecting the reality of a pandemic in order to feed your family. You know?
Right, or have health insurance or any number of things that are tied in with employment and economic activity.
Yeah, so the economic crush, the inability to work it's going to create a very big panic situation, which is, you know, this is the whole pandemic thing, but we're talking about the environment. So I think what may result is that, well, we need to get back into an economic momentum, but what I fear and what I kind of maybe predict is that it may come at a cost to the environment, which was ironic because it's like, well, none of us will be able to work if the planet's dead.
Right.
And we won't be able to do anything. So, but that's kind of it's just sort of an immediate need. So that's kind of the weird situation we're all in.
Yeah, and I think it's hard to really come up with solutions when you're grieving.
Totally. I mean, and it's just hard. Like it's funny, like when you go to the market, I don't know if you've experienced this, but they won't let you bring your own bags anymore.
That's right.
You know,
yeah, for a while they were. I think the plastic bag ban has been rolled back too.
Now it's mostly paper bags, but still, all of a sudden we have, for the convenience of the pandemic, of course, and the no touch and the no transmission of, you know, cooties, we bringing back bags. So it's such a weird time. It makes it even weirder when we're trying to focus on the environment. Now we have all of this on top of it, and the economy, and the grieving of loss, and the lack of leadership of this country to fix whatever can be fixed, you know. But I think what's most distressing is sort of a behavioral lack, you know, just like the environment is something we can collectively fix to a degree, right? By being more conscientious about waste.
Right. And we did it back in March.
Right. So we were forced to. But now, I mean, it's not like we can't continue that. But I think what happens is that people forget, and convenience comes back. Right? We're really a spoiled society.
Yeah, we will not pass the marshmallow test.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, I think you tell a child that they can either have a marshmallow now or wait 15 minutes and have 4 marshmallows, something like that. Right. The people. Yeah. It seems it would be nice to have people in charge that have passed the marshmallow test.
Yeah, we're pretty wimpy in that regard. I mean, it's just like, I mean, we're paralleling this with the pandemic issue, but, you know, the fact that people will no longer wear masks anymore. They're just like, I'm over it. You know, that meme that is like, the pandemic's not over because you're over it.
Right, it's not, or the weather is nice, or you're just
give up, or they just start to not care.
Right.
And this is why we have these perpetuating problems. People are, we have people who are against, or even just denying. It's like they deny the pandemic, they deny the climate crisis. You know, it's not that bad.
Yeah, I guess that's a coping mechanism.
They don't think about a whole planet or a whole one humanity. You know, they're just thinking about themselves. So that's like the distress.
Yeah, I think being distressed is pretty valid.
I'm a person who, I'm a person who just will not. I'll hold on to optimism, but it's hard.
Yeah, it's because you got to be optimistic, because if you don't, if you're not willing to fight or envision a positive outcome, that makes it unlikely that you can achieve that. But at the same time, it is so overwhelming, and the grief really gets into your bones, and it's just hard to maintain that sort of attitude.
Right. So, it was when the environment started healing at the beginning of that truly gave me hope that we could experience a cleaner planet and a healed planet, healed skies, and just generally a healthier environment. And I don't know. I don't know. People don't take things serious. They take things for granted, Like, oh, that was nice.
Yeah, it's makes sense that you'd be frustrated with that.
Yeah. So, thanks for listening.
Yeah, I think just talking about it really accomplishes something. Like, it's hard to stay connected in normal times. It's really hard right now, so it means a lot that you're reaching out and sharing about this.
Thanks. This was a nice respite to the mind just processing and dealing with it.
Yeah, sometimes that circus merry-go-round music just gets overwhelming, and you gotta get out of that.
Right.
Well, do you mind if we use this as part of our audio archive? If you want, we can anonymize it, or we don't have to use it at all. But it would be great if we could.
No, of course.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Well, thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for calling. It was nice chatting.
Likewise. Bye.
Have a good one. What's that? Okay. You are on the Climate Crisis Hotline, 833-EMO4-ECO. My name's Emerson, and I'm here to listen. What's your name?
I'm sorry. Say that one more time for me.
You're on the Climate Crisis Hotline. I'm Emerson, and I'm here to listen. If you have thoughts or feelings about the climate crisis or any surrounding issues, you can tell us how you feel about that.
Yeah, well, something that I've been thinking about, especially this week, is where is the intersection or the intersectionality with climate change and all this social uprisings, and not to mention the pandemic, the health crisis that we're going in as far as COVID. But something that's been really weighing me down is, the loss of Black lives and the loss of, and the grief with that, and just knowing that this time, climate change, I think, affects Black, Brown, and Indigenous communities the most.
Sure, and
So
the
how
most
can-
vulnerable are always the closest to the edge.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering, as far as climate change, because in my experiences, working with climate change activism and different NGOs and organizations, they all seem to be pretty white, and I'm just wondering where the shift in the conversation, or maybe its outreach, and maybe a shift in going back to like indigenous practices or ancestral practices for our connection to the earth, because I think that's what we're all kind of trying to reconnect to, is our place here. And the thing that got us here is greed. So I don't know if I'm formulating any coherent thoughts, but this is kind of the nebulous that's taking over me lately.
No, that totally makes sense. Were you involved with any of the protests over the summer?
Yes, I was. Not as much as I could be, and that just had to do with being kind of exposed to people that are, or like people in my family and within my network. Them being a little, I just didn't want to put them at risk.
Sure.
And my family's from the Philippines, and I was just there kind of right before quarantine, and my family lives on a very tiny island, and the last time I was there was 20 years ago, and I went back in February, and the coral reef is bleached.
Wow.
It's still pretty beautiful, it's still pretty untouched, but a lot of it was bleached, and there's like trash, because there's a lot of Australian tourists coming because it's quote untouched coral reef, and so there's more trash, and there's no waste management on the island because it's a rural community. So I'm just thinking of these, like my family's home as like the white man's playground.
Right.
And it just kind of collecting trash. So I don't know. These are just some of the things I've been thinking about, and how can we go to these Black, Brown, and Indigenous communities and have the conversation with them, and not so much that we're that we're complaining to ourselves about this, but really getting a diverse group of voices. Because I almost feel like and almost like right now, with all that's going on, with all the loss of Black lives, climate change almost feels like it's like trivial right now. It's like not at the top of my worries right now, because I feel like, we have a system where I don't trust, the people that govern us, and then also there's like a big health crisis going on right now. So
right.
how can we consciously and carefully and mindfully bring climate change back to, not that it's a hierarchy, but like all of these conditions, all of these situations, all of these pandemics that we're living in right now. Like, we are living in this moment in history, and I think another person said before, like, what an interesting time to live, like, in this world right now where so much is at stake, but with everything is temporary. So how can we move forward and acknowledge that, Black lives, Black, Brown, Indigenous lives, and climate change, and the health of everyone can like all kind of live side by side, like at least the conversation, without feeling selfish. I mean, because for me, as someone in this community, I feel like I can't talk about climate change right now.
Right, there's
like,
stuff that's more in
dying.
your face that people are thinking about in a more direct way, I think.
Yeah, and like I'm an Earth sign. I'm born on Earth Day. I compost everything, even all my paper. Like I feel a deep connection to the earth, but I also feel like so much is at stake right now. And I don't know. I just feel really heavy, and I've been wanting to call about other climate change issues that I've been having, but I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't mention everything else that's going on right now.
Yeah, context is important. Is that heavy? When you talk about feeling heavy, is that does that have a physical dimension?
It's funny. I took a big deep breath because I've been trying to connect to my breath more.
I heard that.
I've been trying to embody more. I feel like lately, because I've been in quarantine, I should probably also let you know that I am a dancer, and I haven't danced much during quarantine because I've just been in my house, and with the exception of a few Zoom videos, I haven't been in my body.
That must be frustrating.
So, yeah, and so like I've been trying to connect to breath more, and I'm trying to figure out how to relate this back to the eco-anxiety that I have, or the intersectional anxiety that I have.
Well, I think you would certainly have, understand how that physical manifestation of anxiety can be so exhausting.
100%. I think that there's, I'm trying to, as I'm talking to you, I'm trying to locate where on my body I'm feeling it, and I typically hold my anxiety in my shoulders and my neck, but I've also been feeling really weighed down, especially with the death of Chadwick Boseman that we just found out yesterday,
right,
and then earlier this. Yeah, such a an inspiration for many Black and brown people, and then also with the killing of Jacob Blake earlier this week, I'm really feeling heavy. So while I feel anxiety with my shoulders bringing me up, I also feel like the systemic oppression weighing me down. So I almost feel suffocated. I mean, and how ironic, the slogan of the racial uprisings is I can't breathe. And, and also, ironically having to wear a mask mask, I'm like, I also can't breathe because it's so hot.
Yeah, it's
so I
just
feel like
layers and layers there.
Yeah, like I feel so. I feel like the layers and layers of dust that have accumulated on me are so thick. It's so opaque that I can't even see myself anymore. But with that said, I am hopeful. I do feel like I want to stay positive and that we will rise out of this and reimagine. I'm hopeful. I just am acknowledging that right now it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard to be hopeful when you're dealing with a lot of heaviness, but like you mentioned earlier that nothing is permanent. So whatever is going on, we will have new and different problems at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think it means a lot to just talk about this stuff. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah, thank you for listening. I'm glad I was able to get that, not only, I've kind of tried journaling it all day today, but haven't been able to. So getting to speak to someone and having someone respond and be compassionate and empathetic is really nice right now.
Yeah, just talking and moving the air around, I think, really makes a difference. I do a lot of journaling too, and I tend to keep, like, everything accumulates in my gut. You said you get a lot of heaviness on your shoulders. For me, it's all in the abdomen.
Mm-hmm.
So just some breathing down in there, and then I do some car screaming sometimes. I would recommend that if you're in your car and nobody can hear you. Just go for it. But
oh wow, yeah.
Just vocalizing makes a difference. So thanks for showing up and doing that. That makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm. And one more thing I want to say is I feel like this is kind of the first time in America, at least in my life, that it's been encouraged to listen. It's been encouraged to, not react right away. So having this platform where I could just call in and have someone listen is really nice. And yes, I will take your advice and hopping in my car and giving a good cry.
It's great. It helped.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Do you mind if we use this as part of our audio archive?
My pleasure.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Bye.
All right. You've been listening to the Climate Crisis Hotline. This is KCHUNG, KCHUNGRadio.org, 1630 AM in Chinatown in Los Angeles. This concludes the on-air portion of the presentation. Climate Crisis Hotline is 1-833-366-4326. That's 833-EMO4-ECO. And you can call that anytime and vent and rant and riff about climate-related topics. Maybe you're mad, maybe you're confused, overwhelmed, nervous. Maybe you can't stop laughing. Maybe you're not reacting at all. That's a valid way to grieve. Just lay it on us. 833-EMO4-ECO. Call anytime. Climate Crisis Hotline is a collaboration between ICA LA and Creative Migration and Space Saloon and people like you that show up and participate, even if it's just to keep the paths of communication open. It makes a difference. My name's Emerson. Thanks for stepping up and sharing and being part of the conversation and connecting. It means a lot. Thank you.